Hi everybody, it's Jukebox and you're listening to the Maritime Milsim Podcast, brought to you by Rap4 Canada, Tier 1 Scenarios, Jester's Tactical Sports Center, and Unanistan 3D Print and Cut.
Welcome everyone to episode 59 of the Maritime Milsim Podcast. I'm your host, Hooligan. I've got on almost nobody. It's a ghost town on here. We've got Jester from Jester's Tactical Sports Center.
Good evening. Now.
And no Nightmare, no Guardian, and none of the usual people who fill in. So that's like, there's no Danny, there's no Raza, there's no Command Bros, nothing. But we've got, have we officially settled on the name? We're going to call him the Arms Dealer?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So we've got the Arms Dealer. He's just been christened that. He's an airsofter from New Brunswick. Airsoft player, whatever we're going to call him. Anyway.
Airsoft.
So, today's show, this week's show.
Hey.
What?
I'm getting a look right now. I'm getting a look from somebody. You're in trouble.
You're getting a message. You're getting a lip? What?
Look. I'm getting a look. Somebody's throwing stuff at me.
Well, who is it?
You forgot somebody.
I didn't know she was here. Apparently Valkyrie's on the show as well.
No, I don't have to be. Good.
She's just taking care of some orders. Hanging out in the background.
Right? So, let's talk about that for a second, because that's some pretty cool news. That's some pretty awesome stuff. So what's going on at Jester's Tactical Sports Center?
We now carry, and we'll be stocking Armadillo gear, which is really cool. So, with the changes to their website and whatnot, as one of their dealers, we get some perks where we can sell at the Canadian prices and carry that fantastic gear that I hear it's fantastic, because every time any comes near me, everybody around me just grabs it and takes it away to play with it or wear it. So hopefully now I'll be able to have my own.
Right? Well, until somebody yoinks it.
Yeah.
I know, I've got a beanie, and it's awesome. It fits so snugly. It's so awesome. I love it.
Well, I've got the poster, the fabric poster there for the store.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I wrap myself in it.
That's perfectly acceptable. There's nothing wrong with that.
Good. I'm glad.
Right? So don't you even worry about it. You wrap yourself up in that whenever you want. So that's some super cool news. So that means anybody in or around who's going to be going to Jester's Tactical Sports Center for whatever reason can get hold of some sweet Armadillo gear, or at least look at it and feel it and touch it, and then buy it, because as soon as you pick it up and handle it, you're going to be like, I want this now. This is mine.
Yeah. You're not going to say I want. You're going to be like, I totally need this.
Yeah.
Without it. I'm not just talking the gorilla or the Gillos and stuff. I'm talking the T-shirts, the streetwear, the performance wear, the compression shirts, the performance beanies, the bandanas. Like, I'm drooling right now. It's just that exciting. And then on the other side of the coin, we also stock Milsig and MCS now.
Well, all right then.
So, we've got two wicked companies that are now, we now stock, because, MCS, Modern Combat Solutions, is RAP4 and Hammerhead and whatnot, so it's great products, and Milsig, it's Milsig, fantastic products as well, so we have the ability to take the shooter and find out and identify what they play well with, and guide them toward what's perfect for them. Not the perfect looking marker, but what actually works functionally for that player.
Right, exactly. You're going to be able to go, here's an M17, and then they're going to try it, and they go, I don't like it. Okay, we'll try this 468. I don't like it. And then you just go down the list, right? So,
yeah, you just go, okay, here's the Vortex. Oh, I love this. All right, here you go. The next guy comes in, I like the 468. Okay, cool. This, we run them through the range for an hour, and they're like, oh yeah, the 468 is good for this, but I like the Milsig because of my muscular skeletal setup, or vice versa. Because that's the thing, people, you gotta remember, it's not the marker that makes the player. It's the player that makes the marker good.
Exactly. Right. Jukebox ran into that problem because when I got my new M17 in the mail, well, new to me, and I was immediately like, here, you got to try this. And she put it in her arms, and the first thing she said is, it's too long for her arm with the tank and the stock and all that. So, so, I said, okay, that's legit. I said, we can get a smaller tank for the MagFed markers. We can go down to, I've seen anything down to like a 6-inch tank. So,
or with the M17, you get the HCS kit, and you just run the remote line directly off.
Very true.
You don't even need the tank, but if you like that play system where you don't have the remote line hanging around your waist, then yeah, there is a 6-inch tank that you can put on there and get smaller, low-profile nodes. From Immortal Air, Max Tech has one that I've seen, and so does Milsig.
Yeah. I've heard some crazy things about Immortal Air. I've heard some really good things about their gear. I'm looking forward to trying it. I don't know when, but eventually I'll get around to it.
Well, we were supposed to be getting hooked up with them too, and unfortunately the dollar changed, so it's
not cost effective.
You know what? Yeah, it's not cost effective, and people will be paying through the nose for it's great gear, just not at that price for anybody at any level. Yeah.
Gotcha. So, the whole point of this week's show. This week's show, specifically. The reason why we brought on this gentleman we're going to officially call the arms dealer is... So we're the Maritime Milsim podcast, and Jester always pokes at this and says, it's Milsim. It's Milsim, so you got to do both, and he's right. He's right. So we've brought on an airsoft guy. So I'm a paintball guy. Jester is a paintball and airsoft guy, and real steel and archery and pretty much anything with a projectile, as far as I can tell. And
Very true.
This gentleman, the arms dealer we've brought on, is an airsoft guy. As far as I know. I don't know. I met him about 23 minutes ago. So this is going to be an adventure for all of us.
I play airsoft and paintball. I started with paintball. Did that for about 8 years. Got out of paintball, unfortunately, when both fields locally closed down. Kind of about a year or two hiatus, and then got back to airsoft, and then I met Jester and been back into paintball again.
It was a bromance ever since.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we're going to focus on the airsoft side.
I've never met this guy before in my life.
And I come from a background, I shoot real steel quite often as well, too. So.
Okay, fantastic. So the whole point of this is we're going to try and bridge the gap. So there's a lot of hate between airsoft and paintball. Whether that hate is a majority or a minority, it doesn't matter. It's very loud. You always hear about paintballers on the paintball forums, always ripping on the airsofters, and you always hear the joke, I have bigger balls, and I giggle at it every time. I shouldn't, but I do. Or the fact that paintball, quote on, like air quotes going here, hurts more, so you got to be, quote unquote, tougher to play it. And then you see the airsoft guys are usually making fun of the bright colors. Wearing the bright pinks and the greens and yellows and all that jazz. And, on the speedball side of it, there's no need for it, right? It's all a projectile-based sport. So paintball's got paintballs, airsoft's got pellets, BBs. So it's shouldn't be any hate. So we're gonna try and bridge it. We're gonna teach me about airsoft, because I don't really know much. I've handled an airsoft marker twice. It was fun. I enjoyed it. But I have no idea of the inner workings of anything about it. So, go.
Funny.
I know, right? Freaking hilarious. So,
Well, yeah, I can see a lot of the hate, and I have to deal with a lot of the hate, especially kind of doing the cross-platform like I do. I use both for two different reasons. I play paintball. I like to dress up and go have fun, and it's relaxed and it's casual. But when I play airsoft, it's a little more serious. It's not super serious, but we're playing missions and we're doing. It's more realistic, I guess you could say. And I use it personally for different reasons too. Like I play paintball as a stress relief, and airsoft in a way you can use it for training, not necessarily for ballistics per se, because they're nowhere near real steel. But the thing is almost perfect. You can do a lot of weapon manipulation drills with airsoft that you can't necessarily do with paintball.
Okay.
So
explain the weapon manipulation side of it.
sure. If you look at some of the higher end guns, like a gas blowback rifle, it runs a lot like a paintball gun. Typically propane powered. There's no fire or anything. It just uses propane as propellant. But you have a functional bolt catch, you have a functional forward assist, you have a functional charging handle. You typically have a very realistic and functional bolt. Bolt lock back works. Typically low capacity magazines. So your ballistics don't match real steel, but the drills do. So you have a stoppage, tap rack, go. Works exactly the same as it does in real steel. Bolts forward to the rear, you're out of ammunition. You can actually physically look in the breech and see I have nothing left in the breech. Time to change magazines. You can in a way do that with paintball, but not as readily.
Well, it's comparable to the lock bolt of a 468,
right,
or a T68 with a lock bolt, because you got that little window, or the TGR. You cant your marker to the left, look inside the window in the chamber, and you can see that it's empty. So there's a similarity that we can grow on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Paintball definitely has for training too.
Well, I was going to ask you, like, you were comparing airsoft and paintball in regards to training. One is a bit more training oriented and one is a bit more relaxing for you personally. But in the world of milsim and scenario paintball and what we do here at Jesters, how would you compare that to your past experiences in regards to maybe bridging both?
Well, it all depends on how you're playing and what you're playing. For some of like when we're playing here at Jesters, I think it's almost on par. I mean, you can have huge scenario-based games, 36-hour-long games, story-based games. But you can have, traditional team deathmatch.
Just
Flat master. Like, it all boils down to the same thing. You're shooting a projectile at somebody else, and you're trying to get them before they get you. You can use tactics to your advantage, and what you're using doesn't really matter.
So what I'm hearing you say is that it depends, because we've all played at different fields too, where no matter what the sport is, it's how the field delivers the activity that makes the activity.
Right.
Because we've played some small impromptu airsoft missions. They're just awesome, but short-based, and they're the same scenarios that we do with paintball. And then we've been to fields where you think it's going to be great because it's going to be airsoft, but they've over-planned everything and kind of cut the imagination aspect of it. And they've done the same thing with paintballs. So it's what I'm trying to stutter through here, ladies and gentlemen at home. It's based on the way the field delivers it, because it's like Mr. Arms Dealer saying and Valkyrie saying, is it's a projectile-based system, and the drills are very similar. It's how the field or facility delivers it. Correct?
Yes.
So what equipment you'd be using, really?
Yeah.
Because you can run the 98 or you can do the MagFit.
Yep.
There's a difference there. And
Exactly, yeah.
Manipulation for drills and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You can practice your
Mag changes?
mag changes, but your administrative ones or your tactical one,
Yep.
right? With paintball as well as with airsoft.
Absolutely.
If you're running a magnified marker. If you're running a hopper-fed marker, then to me, your marker manipulation, there's not much there. You're going out and you're shooting.
You're slinging something.
You're slinging something.
And that's what separates us from the animals. So we're slinging BBs and paintballs, not shit.
Right. Has nothing to do with opposable thumbs. It's all about the fact that we can sling paint or BBs. So, yeah, I could totally agree with that. Okay. So, I see what you're saying. Because I've been to paintball fields where, it's super hardcore tactical, experience. And then I've been to other fields where there's guys decked out in the most ridiculous tactical gear I've ever seen. I've seen guys with, I don't even know what was in the pouches on their legs, but it wasn't paintball gear. I don't know if these guys went out and bought, gas masks to put into the gas mask bag off their hip or something just to be that guy. But then it just turned into, okay, you're the blue team, you're the red team, and you have to capture each other's flags. Right? So
I'll tell you a secret of the gas mask carrier is we used to have to carry them all the time, even if the threat level was low or zero. And most of the time we had extra Gatorade and chocolate bars or energy bars hiding inside that gas mask carrier. So these people that run around the field with that extra gas mask on there on their hips because they want to look authentic, here's a tip. Take out the gas mask. Exactly. Then you will be an authentic operator. Okay? If you have a gas mask in your gas mask carrier, you're not a true operator.
Right, and you got to carry. What was it I'd seen? I don't know. Something about super special forces guys or something like that carrying gold coins or something for negotiating with locals. So if you're not on the field with, I don't know, 10 grand in gold bullion in your pocket, then you failed at.
Yeah. If you carry silver instead of gold, you're wrong.
Okay, so I want to talk the biggest the biggest thing maybe that keeps coming up between paintball and airsoft, and it's kind of where the sports kind of blend together, is the use of goggles and mesh masks. So I don't know. I've never been to, other than Jester's Field, I've never been to an airsoft field. Or at least I haven't played in a full-on legit airsoft game. So I don't know what are the rules, because in paintball it's got to be a full 9 times out of 10 it's got to be a full paintball mask. So
Yes.
What's the deal with airsoft?
I've only played airsoft in New Brunswick, so I can only comment for that. Typically, the fields I play at, you have to be wearing at least ballistic rated eyewear, minimum. You only have a set of eyes, you can't replace them. It's absolutely okay to wear paintball masks. They're more than rated for that. But the very, very minimum for airsoft is ballistic rated eyewear. I personally, this year I'm running a small mesh mouth guard. Last year I did not, and it took a couple of very close calls, almost losing teeth. It's a risk that a lot of players do take, and I have seen it go badly for them. Some players do show up with a paintball mask. That's perfectly acceptable. The hardcore guys may razz you a bit for it, but in the end, it's your teeth that you're trying to protect.
They're going to make fun of you for that missing tooth.
And it's like those hockey players in the 80s that were like, oh, I don't need to wear a helmet. Ask them now how many games they remember playing in.
And they'll just answer potato.
Yeah.
So it's really, around here at least, it's really personal preference. I know for myself, at least this year, I will be wearing a mouth protection and full seal goggles. You can play technically with ballistic eyewear, which is not necessarily full seal. I have a problem with my ballistic eyewear where they don't seal around my cheekbone, and it's never happened, but I don't happen where BB strikes me and then manages his way up into my eye. It'd just be a bad day all around.
So why go with a few separate pieces as opposed to just a mask? Is it personal preference?
Personal preference, just comfort. In paintball, I've always had a real bad problem with fogging issues, even with the current mask I'm using right now is an HK KLR, and I still fog.
Don't get Guardian started on that.
Like a mofo. So ballistic eyewear for me last year worked. It didn't fog up as bad, and it was easy to clean on the field. A lot of people do the full CO goggles. You can even take, like, say, a JT mask and just take the goggles out of them.
Yeah.
Go the mouth protection and use a bandana or something instead. It's a lot more open in that respect, whereas in paintball it's very strict. It's paintball mask or no paintball. I have seen places where goggles are acceptable with mesh masks. For me, that's a no-go for me. I've eaten paintballs through a mask before. I hate to eat it through a mesh mask.
Yeah, eating that little bit of paint that comes through the front of the mask is one thing. Taking a full-blown paintball that's been like smoothied through a mesh mask.
Yeah, pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially at 280 plus feet per second.
Right. Yeah. I highly doubt it's going to punch through the mesh mask. I still don't want to feel that impact though.
Exactly. And a paintball mask, it protects a lot more of your face than you think. Right? It protects your ears, protects your cheeks, protects your chin most times, protects your nose. In airsoft, if you're not wearing a paintball mask, you're going to get shot in the ear and you're going to get shot in the nose. And I tell you from experience, it sucks.
I was going to say a paintball, or not a paintball, a BB on the nose or up the nose would just be excruciating.
Yeah, and you got to remember too, they're shooting anywhere from 400 to 500 feet per second. Not the same amount of energy behind paintball, but they still hurt.
Yeah.
It still stings.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that was the first thing I learned when Jester was like, "Come on, we're gonna play some airsoft." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And I go out and I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, how am I gonna know if I get hit? And then I found out, like it was like this little pinch, but it was, you know what I mean? It wasn't just like a tiny little like bump. It was like a bee sting. It hurt.
It wasn't a JT Splatmaster.
Yeah.
No, and like at the Girls and Guns, when I got hit, like, you get hit and you're like, you walk it off, or sometimes you'll get hit and it just enrages you. I'm sure everyone's experienced that, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. So that was my experience, because we went down and played some airsoft when we did our Girls and Guns day, and I got, quote unquote, air quotes, lit up from behind.
It was the side.
I was raging. Because it went from my mid-back all the way up on my shoulder and actually got me in the back of the head, like up a little bit. It was quite a far distance. Like it wasn't within mercy or anything like that, but I just was like, okay, done. Walked off the field and it bruised.
Yeah. You can compare, everybody that listens to this podcast has probably been hit by a paintball. Paintball is like getting hit by, say, a tennis ball. An airsoft BB in the right spot, it's like a needle.
Yeah, it's like stinging from bees.
It's a different pain, but
they're both painful, but it is different. It's more of like a little tiny little.
It's like a bunch of bug bites, and everybody gets annoyed at bug bites.
Yeah, it sucked. So
I'd rather get shot in the finger with a paintball gun than shot in the finger with an airsoft gun. Just put it that way.
Yeah, it's a sharp pain.
Because it's a tinier surface that it's hitting you at, like it.
All that concentrated evil.
Oh, I'm afraid. Just thinking about it.
She's getting mad about it again.
I was following along at home. We have the video of her raging at me when I shot her. She yelled at me, and I stopped for a minute to see what was going on. And as soon as she was like, "Okay, I'm out," and walked away, her sister stood up with her marker and got me the side of the face. So, yay!
Oh yeah, she rocked it that day.
Yeah, she avenged you.
She was a machine that day.
Yeah.
First time playing, first time out there.
She avenged you good.
Yeah. Yeah. I took a break.
Okay, so that explains the mask part. So it's
Just to close off on that, though, a lot of fields now, because I've spoken to a lot of other owners, if you show up and you do not have proper seals around your eyes for playing airsoft at the minimum, you will not be permitted to go onto the field. So, getting sealed eyewear, like the arms dealer was talking about, is the minimal, and 90% of the fields are now turning people away or handing them, like, we have rentable eyewear. People complain, oh, it fogs up or whatever. We have eye mesh, and we also have full masks that are designed specifically for airsoft. They're paintball-style masks, but they're lighter and better vented because it's for airsoft, so you don't have to worry about the size of the paintball getting in there. So those are options, but as I'm stating, it's a minimum for 90% of the fields now across Canada that you have sealed eye pro.
And I'm sure some people get frustrated with that, and they want to look, badass out there, but you have to remember that safety does come first.
Yeah, you want to look all operator? You're missing an eye. You're going to look like a pirate. Not operator.
You look like an operator.
Quick, draw that patch up and get Evan to make it for you.
And it's, there are some people that go out, and I've seen it before, they go out and they buy these Chinese airsoft goggles. Yeah. They're not necessarily safe. I mean, I use my revision ballistic eyewear. I know that they will work, but if you show up to a field wearing sunglasses, it's not going to fly. If you show up wearing Oakleys, it's not going to fly. It's ballistic eyewear. It's the same eyewear you would wear if you were shooting real steel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shattered
at
proof.
the minimum.
Yeah.
You show up at the field wearing Oakleys, you're going to get mugged. Just saying.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just on the East Coast here. Maybe that's like... I lost my train of thought. Okay, so...
Fucking Oakleys.
Mugging.
Moving on from the iPro, your next question was... And go.
Oh, I did have another question, and it's completely evaded me. This is ridiculous. Oh, here we go.
Yeah,
that's what it was. So in paintball, we have professional leagues in speedball. We have PSP, MPPL, the X-Ball League.
EPC.
Yeah. So
EBLLA.
APC.
If
So
ECLP.
anyways, Airsoft. Does Airsoft have anything like that?
Not to my knowledge, at least in Atlantic, Canada. It's not really leagues, per se. It's more club-based. I'm sure in the States, it's a lot bigger in the States, and I'm sure in the States there are tournaments. But I've never really looked into that portion of it.
He's more buying and selling of the arms. He just supplies them wherever they're needed.
It doesn't matter which side's winning, as long as somebody's buying. That's a terrible thought. So, okay. Now, when in the middle of an airsoft game, because this is the other one of those things that always comes up between is which one's better, paintball or airsoft, and this is always one that comes up is the fact in paintball, while we do have cheaters, every sport has cheaters. Typically, you get hit by a paintball, and it's a splat, and it's a visible mark. It can be wiped away if you're quick enough, or if you're using a paint that can wipe easily. I know the paints are now becoming more, like as soon as they get exposed to the air, they thicken right up, so when you try to wipe it, it just sort of smears, which is even more embarrassing because then it's just like totally visible that you tried to wipe it. Now, that's one thing that always comes up with airsoft is people are like, oh, well, there's no mark, so it just turns into, and I'm not saying this, I'm just saying this is what a lot of the jokes are, is that it turns into a bunch of kids yelling at each other saying, no, I got you first.
Right.
So, do you actually experience a lot of that?
No, actually. Airsoft, yes, you're right. There's no marks indicate that you hit the other person. But where I've been playing, and I'm sure it's going to be employed a lot more in gestures as Airsoft begins to grow around here too, is it's an honor system. Just like paintball, you get hit, or you think you got hit, you give it to the other guy. Now, there's always going to be a problem with first-timers and walk-ons that aren't affiliated with a team or a group or,
those lone wolves.
They're always going to be a problem, no matter what sport you play. there are going to be cheaters out there, but it's a lot more of an honor system. I wouldn't say it's a lot more of an honor system. It's still just as big an honor system in Airsoft. If you get to be known as the guy who doesn't take his hits, you just won't be invited back. Or you just won't be welcome to play with that particular group anymore. I suppose it would be the same as paintball. Paintball is a little more easy to regulate because there's evidence. But it just comes down to, you're out there to have a good time, whether it's Super Milsim or not. And if you're not taking your hits, it ruins the fun for everybody. That guy who's hitting that person consistently, for a fact you're hitting them, you just take it personally. Just like paintball, I played speedball for a number of years. There are odd calls and bad calls made. If you take it personally, it ruins the game for you. You just have to be patient. Especially if it is a new player playing, just like you say, Airsoft has a lesser impact than paintball does. You just have to be patient with them. And, maybe after the game, calmly educate them. Hey, I think I hit you back there. It's no fun for anybody when somebody's not calling their hits. Not cheating, but not calling their hits.
Okay, gotcha. So it's just same mentality. You don't call your hits, and we know you're not calling your hits. You're a jerk.
You're blacklisted. You're a jerk. You're just not going to be right back.
Well, there's a level of trust with people. So if you're playing against that person during a game and they're not calling their hits, then I personally would not want my team playing with me because I wouldn't trust their play to whether have my back, listen to direction, whatever the case is. So I think there's more to it than just quote unquote cheating. It's the whole mentality for playing a team sport.
Yeah, your personal integrity is very visible in a game.
Yeah, dude, you're out, go out, respawn, come back in.
Yeah, and if there's no respawn, well, keep your head down for the next one.
Okay. I like it. So, let's say for me, I wanted to get into Airsoft. Let's say I'm not going to quit paintball because I can't. It's not happening. But let's say I wanted to get into Airsoft. So what's some tips? What's some, things that you wish you were told when you first started in Airsoft?
Stay away, at first, stay away from buy-sell trades. Especially if you don't know the inner workings of the guns and the markers. Stay away from used at first. Now, don't let yourself be pulled in by super flashy high-end guns to begin with. If you want to try Airsoft, come to somewhere like Jester's where he's going to have rental guns to try out. Airsoft's not for everybody, just like paintball's not for everybody. But you don't want to go to Canadian Tire for your first Airsoft gun either. Shop around. Read the reviews, watch YouTube videos, and test them if you're able to. I got drawn in kind of on both sides. I was actually buying it for a paintball project. I bought a non-working M249, tore it apart. I'm a guy who learns by tearing things apart, looking at them, figuring out how they work, putting them back together. I actually got the thing working, and I actually went up to my first Airsoft game with it. I was lucky. I see a lot of people on buy-sell trade. They bought a gun used, didn't know how to fix it, couldn't fix it, tried to sell it, lost all their money, got bad taste in their mouth, didn't come back to it.
And he built an empire off of it now.
Yes. Because I'm usually the guy who buys those guns for $20, $50, fixes them and, flips them for a little bit of money.
An undisclosed amount.
Yes, the highest bidder.
The arms dealer will never tell his secrets.
As you shouldn't.
Exactly.
But what other things would be helpful to new players? Now, are you talking about transitioning from paintball to Airsoft, or just walking in off the street saying, hey, I want to try Airsoft today?
So, let's say walking off the street, because I think it's going to be a lot fairly similar tips.
Yeah, it's just like if you were walking off the street for paintball, right? You do a little bit of research. You definitely want to go play it first and use rentals. Airsoft, just like paintball, is a huge investment up front. I know looking back now, the $200 98 that we bought doesn't look like that big of an investment anymore. Now that we're getting up to 7,000 more guns. But, always want to try it first, especially at a well-known establishment that has proper rules, has proper guns, has proper equipment, and you're actually going to enjoy your experience. I didn't have that experience. I walked into what's called an outlaw field. It's just like that in paintball too. Mm-hmm. It's in his backyard. Handed a gun, here you go, and went to town. It could be a good or bad experience for some people. It really depends on how you take it. But if you're coming in off the street, you definitely want to try it first, and then if you're going to get into it seriously, safety equipment's the first thing you look at. The flashy guns is the first thing everyone wants to go look at. You want to make sure you don't blow your entire budget on a fancy VR super sniper and then be wearing, mediocre safety equipment. And A, yes, you may be safe, but B, you're not going to have a good time because you're fogging everywhere. Spend a little bit of money up front on proper safety equipment. You don't need to get the fancy vests. You don't need to get the fancy camo suits. You don't need fancy ghillie suits. You need proper eyewear. Medical protection is recommended. I would say just grab a paintball mat, and you're all set. And then look into your choice of weapons.
Good advice. It's basically the same advice as paintball.
Exactly the same, yeah.
Yeah, don't get sucked into the flashy paintball markers and get yourself some decent, in paintball, be a decent mask first.
Yeah,
exactly. And then once you get into it and you start saving a little money and you really want to get serious into it, that's when you start branching out into different things. One tip, though, for starting airsoft, everybody and their grandmother wants to be a super sniper the first day.
Right. Everyone wants to be the hardcore special operations marksman.
Yeah.
No, they want to look like it.
Sorry, yeah, they want to look like it.
The sad truth is your $150 is going to get you a piece of crap. It's not going to get you anywhere. You're not going to be a super sniper. The typical good sniper rifles in airsoft are upwards of $1,200 just to have any advantage over anybody else. Don't waste your time and money. I'm sorry to say it bluntly, but stay away from that at first.
Don't be that guy or girl.
And then another problem with that too is if you were brand new off the street and you get a $200 sniper rifle off Buy Airsoft Canada, whatever, and you start playing with it, and you're only shooting one BB at a time, and you're hitting somebody, but they don't know that you're hitting them. They're not calling their hits. They don't feel it. They don't hear it. You're missing. You don't know it. It's really discouraging. And, you may have wasted that money because you may not want to play it again.
So then it becomes disheartening, too. That's right, disheartening. Big word. I know what it means.
So I'm in awe. So is there really a big difference when you're talking the super sniper guys versus somebody running a standard assaulter style airsoft marker?
Yeah, your typical airsoft marker is going to do the exact same job as the guy who spends $500 or $600 on his airsoft rifle, or his sniper rifle. Sorry. It really comes down to knowing your gun very well, knowing the ballistics very well, and you're going to spend a hell of a lot of money to get it to work properly. No, there's not really a huge. It's more about the play style. If somebody's more comfortable playing with a bolt-action gun, props to them. They're basically handicapping themselves to have a good time. If they're enjoying it, respect in my eyes.
Yeah, well, that's
if you
like
just want to,
the SAR 12 guys in the paintball world.
Exactly.
Some of them I've seen them I've seen full. What's the word? I don't know what the word I'm looking for. Anyways, they explain what they do to get ready for a game, and it's like they size and weigh all of the first strike rounds, and then they sand them so they're all the same, and then it's...
That's what I'm with my marksman rifle for reels. You size your reel bullets, you weigh the grains, you shape you measure the shapes of the projectile heads.
But you have to, don't you?
Yeah,
if you're out there doing that,
yes,
that's what you have to do.
So when they talk about doing it with their SARs, or they're like taking their BBs and looking for any seams, they're doing that to ensure, and that's a true shooter mentality. Yeah. So.
Well, yeah.
So there.
Oh yeah, I get that, and I'm saying like it's a totally different mentality. Personally, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm not experienced enough with the first strike rounds or with the SAR-12. But when you're taking that time to sand down that little plastic nub, I really don't think it's making an effect on your first strike round. But that's a different argument for someone else to yell at me about. Because I know people have compared it, and they're just like, oh, well, it's what the real snipers do. I'm like, and the real snipers are taking out a moving target at 3/4 of a mile. Like, it's a bit of a difference.
I'm putting my hands on a SAR-12, and we're going to do some testing, actually. Myth bust.
Right? If it's true that marker, because I've used a SAR-12, I got to fire it like 6 times, and all 6 rounds missed. Just
really?
And that was
a crap shot.
Well, maybe. It's a heavy marker, and I was standing, and it was cold, and anyways. It was not exactly the perfect testing scenario for me to be handed a SAR-12. It was more like me looking at a guy and saying, can I try? And he goes, yeah, sure. I'm like, sweet. Boom, click, and it was just bad. So if you can get hold of one...
You just wasted $7 of my first strike round.
So if you can get hold of one, I would love to be proven wrong, and that this $1,300 first strike specific, I shouldn't say specific, but built from the ground up to be that long-range sniper rifle for paintball is everything it's cracked up to be. Fantastic. I would love to be proven wrong. Love it. So when are you getting one?
Well, soon as I get my hands on one, that following 24-hour period, we'll be seeing some sweet video. So if anybody who's got one at home that they want to loan me, I will ship it back to you. Probably better than when you shipped it to me. And clean.
It'll be clean. And signed. Whether you like that or not, I'm going to sign it.
Yeah. I'm going to sign it with my Dremel. It won't be my name. It'll be somebody else's.
It should be signed Bob.
Bob was here. 98.
Cool. Okay, so now, last question. Not really, but until I think of another one, it's the last one. In paintball, we've got different grades of paint. Everything from the nightmarish monster balls that were sold at Canadian Tires and Walmarts that would, I'm pretty sure with enough velocity, would go through the engine block of a truck, all the way up to just ridiculously high-end. We're talking, if you got the high-end Vulcan paint, you got the high-end Draxus and stuff that's used in tournament paint. And the Tempest, yeah. So is there the equivalent of that in airsoft?
Absolutely. There is. In airsoft, there's different weights of ammunition, and every weight has a different characteristic in its ballistics. Some guns can't handle certain weights. Typically, the heavier weights they go, the less and less, more and more money to spend on your rifle to actually use it properly. But there's definitely different grades. They're just like paintball. There's all the way down from white box, $10 for 10,000 BBs, to your Canadian Tire stuff, to you can spend $8 on 6 rounds, just like first strikes. The big cost comparison does come in there too. There's typically a huge middle ground where it's a good balance between quality and price. One thing I want to touch on there between paintball and airsoft is a bag of 2,000 BBs, good quality, heavier weight, which is typically more accurate in some guns, is typically about $16 retail. And then you look at your average good quality paint, we all know how much that costs.
Yeah, you're looking at, well, depending on where you're buying it, anywhere from $75 to $150 a case.
Exactly.
So
There's a huge, it's a huge variety of quality and prices. A lot of brands too. Every brand is slightly different. Personally, I use BB Bastard. It's Canadian made, it's Canadian owned company. Great products. Yeah, that's all I use.
Okay.
Some people will still buy a different brand. It's all personal preference.
Yeah, that was one thing I was going to bring up. It's a lot of can definitely come down to personal brand. So what, other than the weight, what's the difference between all those different BBs?
They're typically all exactly the same size, or they're quoted to be. They're all within 2/1000ths of an inch, plus or minus, a little bit. I guess that'd be a 2/1000, sorry. They're all 6mm. They're all exactly the same. They should all be the same, but when you're getting the cheaper bag that holds more BBs, you're buying more BBs per dollar. Typically, you're running into you get seams in the BBs, just like you get seams in your paintballs. You have air bubbles inside the BBs because they are solid. But if you have an air bubble in your BB, just think of a paintball. If you have a big air pocket, that paintball is not going to fly straight. It's a round projectile. It's going to tumble. It's all the same problems that we have in paintball. Obviously, the storage and whatnot is different for airsoft. A bag of BBs, you throw it in your closet, and it'd probably be fine 2 years from now. But they do. There are biodegradable ones. They do need to be kept away from sunlight and kept away from moisture. It's pretty much the same.
Okay. So there's a lot more to it than I thought there was.
Absolutely. And yeah, like you said, different weights. We chronograph with industry standard is 0.2 grams. They go all the way up to 0.6 grams, which is about $1 per BB, which I think is ridiculous.
$1 a BB?
Yeah, they exist. I don't know anybody uses them.
First strike rounds with $1 a piece as well.
Yeah.
When you talk about ammo in any type of shooting, the higher you pay for it, the better the quality is. I've shot $18 rounds before. Well, actually, I've fired $30,000 rounds, but that was a missile. So airsoft.
that made a bigger boom.
Yeah. Well, the wire broke and
That was a big boom.
it was a big fail because it was a French designed. Well, it's called the air missile, and we were supposed to be getting them here in Canada, and it was like taking a minivan and throwing it downrange. That's pretty much all it was. It's just like a catapult would have been more effective. But I digress. I'm talking about failed French missiles here.
That's fine. We got to find a way to integrate that into paintball and airsoft. I want a paintball shoulder-mounted missile.
Shoulder-mounted, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Not shoulder-fired?
Whatever. Both. I want to be able to mount it on my shoulder. I want to be able to be like Predator. I want to be able to fire that off whenever I want. So there.
Okay.
All right.
See what we can do for you.
All right. Fantastic.
I'll talk to a guy.
Yeah?
The arms dealer.
Yeah, I know a guy. I know a guy who can get that stuff.
Oh, nice. Sweet. Well, I've learned just about everything I need to learn from airsoft.
Really?
I don't know. I don't know anything. Have I learned everything I need to learn, or
There's as much to learn about airsoft as there was to learn about paintball for you.
I'm sure I have forgotten more about paintball than I even realized. So,
We can always make an episode another date, but there's definitely a lot to learn.
I'm
But
sure.
really, the whole premise of this was to show that airsoft and paintball are not
That far apart.
that far apart. They're really not.
No, they're like cousins.
It's kind of the crowd you associate with yourself in those different types of sports that make a difference. A lot of people I know that I play with play paintball too, and that's fine. But there are also those odd people on both sides that paintball is my religion and no one can take that away from me and everybody else is wrong. It's the same on the flip side.
And those are the people that are too rigid in any of their decisions. Yes, Bill, I'm talking about you. Yo, Jersey.
Okay, now I've got a question. I think it's a question. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but okay.
Was the
So
question at the end?
this is just a I don't even know how
Spit
to
it
start
out,
it. I'm stuttering. I don't know why. So okay. When anytime I'm browsing the web or anything like that, and I'm hearing about airsoft, and it seems like the loudest people talking about airsoft are these super hardcore military milsim players. Like these guys are, they have the teams are broken down into full ranks, and they've got specific gear, and they've all got matching camo, and they've all got the weapon that goes with that camo. So if they're wearing German camo, then they're using a German, an airsoft marker modeled after a German weapon. And and they're like planning their whole day, and they've got like the little 3D map built out of dirt and twigs and stuff like that. To me, that is like I get it, I understand it, but at the same time, I feel like it's going a little bit extreme. To do that every once in a while would be great, but when that's your every weekend, I don't know, it feels a little nuts. So that's just me. If that's what you do, awesome. You do you. I'm gonna go, not do that. But an average day of airsoft, is it like that? Is that the majority
No.
of airsoft players?
Not at all.
No. Okay. So they are I don't want to say
Probably
crazy,
less,
but
there's less coordination in what you're wearing that day than there is in paintball. Honestly, there are some people that have showed up wearing camouflage, hunter orange pants, and Vietnam jungle top and blue sweatshirts.
well, that just sounds like a terrible idea. Who the hell wears orange? Come on now.
Yeah.
I've never seen them in blue sweatshirt before.
No, never.
No.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with wearing a blue sweatshirt because they're always looking for the people in camouflage.
Yeah, exactly. Or the guy in
What's
hunter
his-
orange.
I personally don't know anybody that is their life, that they're so hardcore into that those are impressionists. Those are they're trying to reproduce.
Right, they're reenactors.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
reenactors.
But I think you could probably, if you dug hard enough, find that on the paintball side as well.
Oh,
More than
there is,
likely.
yeah.
You know, like, I think you're going to have quote unquote fanatics
Extremists.
and extremists
Yeah.
on
Absolutely.
either side.
Absolutely, and they're always the loudest too, right? So that's why I ask. 'Cause when I start looking into airsoft, and they always seem to be on the surface. Like as soon as I get there, that's what I find. If you look at paintball, if you just type in paintball into Google or whatever you're using, because if you're not using Google, then what are you using? Then you always come up with speedball. That's always the first thing that pops up.
Yeah.
But once you actually delve into it and you start getting deeper and deeper and deeper into it, then you find out that there's people like, I don't know, Rob Dirtle. He runs just what was he running? Empire Sniper. The guy's just got like tubes of paint strapped around all over his arms, on his legs, everything, and that's all the guy runs. And then you've got players like me who show up wearing a collared shirt and suspenders.
And
So
a trench coat.
And there's the same people.
And your trench coat.
And that's not a trench coat. That is a pea coat.
Dinner
Thank you very
jacket.
much. So the point I'm trying to make is absolutely it's only on the surface. So that's why I had to ask: is that the norm? Like to see a big airsoft events or something like that? Is people doing that? Because I know in paintball, what you see on the surface is not at all what the sport is.
Maybe down in the States, but around here it's a lot of guys just go to the surplus store, grab whatever they can. Some people even come out in jeans. I mean, I know one guy, he's got a $1,400 marker, and he plays in jeans and a shirt.
It's because you can't afford to buy new clothes. You bought a $1,400 marker.
But no, I don't think there's anybody that hardcore, at least around here. It's a little more relaxed. I
Recreational?
guess. It's recreational, that's the word. I mean, there are some really serious, tense moments where it's super realism, but no one's going as far as having everybody have to have matching country uniforms and period accurate weapons and period accurate diapers and whatever you need.
Absolutely everything. Okay.
I'm sure they exist. I've ran into them.
Yeah, I know they exist in paintball because I've come across those teams who have, and I mean not competitive speedball. It makes sense for a competitive speedball team to be all wearing the matching jerseys, but I've come across, in my first few days, my first few games of paintball, in the very beginning, that's what I ran into with these guys all wearing matching camo with these super decked out markers, and I'm sitting there with a 98 custom and like army surplus gear that has been duct taped back together. So.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah,
It's good to see that there's, it's
Yeah,
relaxed.
there's a lot of down to earth people that play airsoft too. It's not always super hardcore.
Very cool. Good to hear.
So, for me, based on the conversation so far, there's not a lot of difference
No,
between the airsoft world and the paintball world.
there's really not. And you know what the majority of the argument is probably based on? It's probably based on a lot of 14 to 18-year-olds' opinions that their sport is greater than everybody else's.
Well, I'd like to jump in there. I'm finding that the more
Opinionated.
people are the ones that are a bit older and set in their ways. And like we said, the people that are the most vocal about their sport are the ones that are,
Fanatical.
the more fanatical. Okay, I got to phrase that properly. The more fanatical they are, most of the time they're more vocal. I'm not saying that the most vocal people in our sport are fanaticals. I'm just saying that the more fanatical ones are usually the most vocal, and that's why you see them or hear about them first. The two sports have so many similarities, and that is the problem. They're too similar, and people feel encroachment from either side, and that's why they feel they have to voice stronger for their side. It's like being a Habs and Leafs fan. Yeah.
That's, yeah.
One interesting segue around from that, there's always a debate which is better. If you look at the history of paintball and you look at the history of airsoft, they were born in the same place.
Yeah.
I don't know the perfect history of airsoft, so I'm not going to tell you because I'll probably butcher it. But it's based on paintball. It all started from the same place. It all kind of grew up and it had vision. And then from there, there's always those diehard, fanatical fans of either side, and you can't tell them which way or the other about that.
Cool. And I've also found a lot of the people that you hear that have really hateful comments about airsoft or have really hateful comments about paintball, I have a very good feeling that those people have never actually played the other sport.
Yeah.
I've always
probably
seen a lot of the paintballers are always just hating on airsoft, and they're just like, how do you tell, they have to play on the honor system, it's full of cheaters, et cetera, and it's like, well, did you have a bad experience last time you tried airsoft? I'm like, well, I've never played it. You would never catch me playing that sport. So then why do you have a...
Shut up. Silencio. If you've never played it, then be quiet.
Right.
And I was one of those people before. When I was hardcore paintball, I at one point in time had about 49 paintball markers.
You have a problem, sir.
I had.
Hence the arm steal.
Come on.
I was unemployed for a year, and I paid my rent for an entire year by selling paintball markers. That's how I became here. But
that's a pretty sweet backstory, actually.
At one point in time, I can actually clearly remember saying, I will never touch an airsoft gun ever in my life. Here I am. I play
right?
both.
I know. When I first saw airsoft markers was in a Walmart or a Canadian Tire, one of the two, big box store, anyways. And I remember looking at these things and like the clear plastic and it being shaped exactly like an MP5 or whatever, but it was scaled down so it would fit in one hand, kind of thing. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, what the hell is this? This is a toy. This is a child's toy. Why would anyone ever use this? And then I go to Jester's Field, and he's like, check these out. These are airsoft guns. It's like, oh, now I understand.
Pittman, the Lord of Paintball, has an airsoft gun. In my opinion, it's one of the better compressed air ones out there.
Yeah.
I run it, and I'll run it into the ground. It's designed with a paintball marker. Go figure.
It's designed off a 98.5. Go ahead.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, for me, my shooting experience, I started with, what was my first? Maybe.
Oh, it was a C11 from.
Yeah. So okay, me starting shooting C11 from Walmart or Canadian Tire or whatever, and then so I started shooting then, and then when we started the business, when we got some stock in, I started training with an M4.
M4
From Titman.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I progressed to paintball. So I can honestly say sitting here that I have done both sides. I prefer, personally, to play paintball, but that's just because I've now found a marker that I love that is mag-fed.
And what is that?
The M17.
Okay.
Love it. I also run newly. I yoinked it. The 2X.
Yep.
But I just think that, yeah, I mean, people are going to have an opinion one way or another, but you should at least have tried it once to have a real opinion about it.
Don't jump on a hating bandwagon.
Yeah, like I like both forms for different reasons. I choose to play paintball because that's what I have for me personally, personal growth, I want to play, but I don't shit on airsoft because I love my M4. Love it. But I also like my M17. Nice effect, so. But that's just a little bit of background of how I started shooting and how I graduated to stuff. But I have played both. I have trained with both. And I like both for different reasons.
Who would have thought you could like two similar sports?
I know.
It's crazy. Okay, so I've learned all I can learn for the next little while about airsoft. I am more than willing to give it an actual legitimate, like, full airsoft game shot, like not just, me getting shot in the ass by Jester kind of game. I want to actually try a full-size airsoft game and see how that goes.
And get shot in the ass by Jester.
Well, whatever. But but as long as it's, a big game, a little more interesting, not getting surrendered in the woods.
Well, here's a question. You were here for Girls and Guns, and you were doing some photography or whatnot, but you saw us play airsoft, right?
I ended up playing airsoft. I ended up subbing in.
Yeah, he played in that one.
Yeah, so how did you find that?
To be perfectly honest, I really don't remember.
You don't remember that? When you and Ruffian were down in Town Hall?
Oh, that sucked.
That was that.
That was a good game, don't get me wrong. The game was fun, but it just ended up just bad moves. I made bad moves. So it sucked that way. So
But it had the same intensity as paintball.
yeah,
Still
absolutely.
Had the same. Yeah. So
It probably would have sucked just as bad if your move sucked if it was paintball, right?
Well, the thing is I decided to be that guy and pick up like the super cool looking sniper rifle looking thing. And right. So right from the get go, I should have just known better. Because if I had been running a AR-15 style platform, it would have been a very different style of play.
Yeah.
So, in paintball, I'm not used to sitting still for incredibly long periods of time.
That's also out of your comfort zone.
Because that scenario was the Girls and Guns Day, so it was supposed to be for the girls to build up. So one of the missions was for Hooligan and I to be a sniper det that they had to come find. So you picked the sniper rifle, I was the rabbit bait, and I was running around trying to get them to come towards you so you could pick them off.
Except one person got the idea and went the exact opposite way.
Yeah.
And caught me not paying attention.
Yeah. So that's the backstory on that. Yeah.
So, airsoft again? Absolutely. Sniper rifle? Not at all.
There you go.
So.
Right? You played, you learned.
Right? I want to try pistols. I want to try being I'll be like the Reaper of airsoft. Except
the
your jokes.
Soft Reaper? Be the Soft Reaper?
The Soft Reaper, yeah. Except better jokes. I'll learn some jokes.
Yeah. Not the playgrounds. Well, actually, we're going to doing a pistols only event within the next month or so.
Oh yeah. That sounds
Well,
interesting.
after Hoth. Obviously, I'm getting dirty looks here.
After
But
Hoth?
after Hoth, yeah, airsoft pistols only.
Interesting.
They don't work.
Well, then I'll just have one that works really well.
Like your Desert Eagle? It doesn't work in the cold.
Okay, so it's going to be...
When warmer weather happens, apparently. Yeah. We're being schooled here by the arms dealer about what works in the cold and doesn't.
You can try.
I was just going to take my M4 and put a small barrel on it.
AR
pistol?
AR pistol. It's going to be an AR pistol.
I'm going to make an AR pistol.
An AR pistol, because that's a thing. That's a thing now.
Yep.
Okay.
So, but anyways, because at Hoth, the pistols we're going to do there is we're going to have the who shot first mission during lunch. So it's pistols only, and it's be quick draw. So you're either Greedo or Han, and it's going to see who shoots first.
Han. Who's Han? You mean Han?
Han Solo?
You mean Han Solo? We'll settle this with a duel. This is what we're going to do. We're going to settle this with a duel.
All right, sounds good.
First one up.
Yeah, we'll be the first one up.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good to me. But with that, I think we're going to end it.
On that bombshell.
Yeah, I'm gonna get Jester to stop talking long enough for me to end the show.
Which is about now.
Right about now. So, I've actually forgotten your real name, so I'm just going to call you Arms Dealer.
That's the idea.
Nobody knows my name.
I could find.
You don't even know his real face.
So, anyways, both of you though, all three of you. Sorry, I know you're there. All three of you. So,
Good response.
Right? It was quick on my feet. It was awesome. So everyone, thank you for coming on and chatting and talking. So it's a rough time for paintball right now because it's like we're in the lull. There's not many fields doing winter games, so there's not a whole lot going on. But for anyone out there listening, if you have a story that you want to tell, that you want everyone to know, I don't care if it's a 5-minute story or you want to take up the whole episode. If it's boring, I might cut you off. But if you want to take up, most of the episode and you want to talk and you want to tell your story, let us know. Come on the show. We're not elitists. We're not, going to say no, you're not good enough. You can't come on the show.
If that was true, we wouldn't be here.
Exactly. We're doing this show, so that just goes to show that just about anybody can do this. Anybody can come on. So, shoot us a message. Send us a message on Facebook through, facebook.com/Maritime Milsim, Maritime Milsim Podcast. Sorry. Let us know. So we'll set up a time. We'll bring you on. We'll chat. It'll be a good time. We'll learn about you. You'll learn about us. We'll grow together. It'll be great.
We'll bond.
Right.
We'll share memory.
Exactly. We'll share virtual s'mores. It'll be a great time. So let us know, because yes, we have paintball has and airsoft has the celebrities. At least I assume airsoft has celebrities.
Yeah, they're celebrities.
We want to hear from the people.
But we want to hear from the everyday person. We want to hear from the player. And you always hear that too. You always hear like, oh, this is for the player or it's by the player. Bullshit. Most of it's not. Most of it's done by 2 or 3 people. I want actual just regular people to come on the show and I want to tell your story, or I want you to tell your story because I'm not going to talk for you. So send us a message. Let us know. And we'll make it work. We're going to hang out. It's going to be a good time. And everyone... What was that?
I said, how can it not be with this crew?
Exactly. Right?
So fire away!
Send us
Take
those
your
messages.
aim! Ricochet! I'm bulletproof!
Hello.
So, all right, everyone. On that, until next week, everyone, cheers.